Okay. Today, my guest is Professor J.T. Lee. I'll keep my introduction short to maximize our time with him. In the next 30 minutes or so, we'll talk about J.T. as a person. Professor Lee is a thought leader and an esteemed scholar, and finally is a mentor to many PhD students and junior faculty. For the sake of time, I'll skip many of his accomplishments and give you a very quick snapshot. Professor Lee is an AIB fellow. He has served as the vice president of the AIB and the program chair of the 2018 AIB annual conference. He is an editor of JIBS, responsible for research related to strategy and policy in emerging economies. He has served as associate editor for SMJ, sits on the editorial boards of AMJ, Global Strategy Journal, Journal of Management, and Long Range Planning. His research interests are in organizational learning, strategic alliances, corporate governance, innovation, and entrepreneurship. Professor Lee actively serves the Hong Kong community. He writes regularly for the Hong Kong Economic Journal, serves on the business panel of the University Grants Committee, and has been a member on the Research Grants Council. Thank you, JT, for joining us.
Thank you so much, you guys, for inviting me. Yeah, very pleased to be here.
Perfect. JT, what did you want to become when you were a child?
That is a very good question. I think we have to put this into the context, right? So I was growing up in the Cultural Revolution in a small city in China. I remember, right, of course, in my primary school, there was not much serious study or education, right? So, but then, Cultural Revolution ended. So Deng Xiaoping came and proposed what we could know now as economic transition, right? The four modernization of industry, modernization of science and technology. And suddenly, I think I was in the secondary school, so everything became very serious now. So everybody was studying very hard. It's everything's about mathematics, physics and chemistry, right? Because China was very backward at that time. China wanted to catch up with the US, and there's a national exam for getting to colleges. That's being restored. It was stopped in Cultural Revolution, but so there was a national exam. So in the small city I was in, so there were a lot of competition for mathematics competition. It turned out I was very good at them. So I became a champion in my small city in math, competition. So naturally, I developed my interest into science and technology. So I went to engineering school.
Interesting. And starting with your elementary and secondary education and so much embedded in science and science background, like the STEM programs.
Yeah, STEM, yeah.
How did you make the transition to the business school? How did you get into the field of academia in IB? What was the connection?
Yeah, so that was, of course, quite a long story. So I went to the college and studied engineering, and towards the more for senior year, right? So the college I was at want to develop a management program because at that time, initially China want to develop science, engineering, right, technology. So all the young people want to study the engineering and science, right? But then, China realized that it needed to develop, the management talent, right? The businesses, they want to learn management, techniques, right? So they began to basically encourage engineering students to learn more about engineering management. So I took some more elective courses in my senior year, and that's when we also learn about the MBA program. So at that time, the young people, of course, in China, inspired to go study abroad, right? In the US, in Europe, in Japan, right? So and to study management, business and management. So I made the transition from being an engineer, studying engineering, to engineering, learning about management, right? So and setting my goal to study MBA, abroad, right? In my the last year for my college.
And how did you choose academia to do research instead of joining the industry?
Yeah, so my initial, of course, I have no idea about what is academia, of course, right? As a young man, of course, first I was excited about, learning about engineering, and then I was excited about learning about management, right? Business and management, right? Especially the MBA. So this was in the early mid 1980s, right? It's all about, of course, we know Japanese companies are doing very well. U.S. companies are catching up, and so as China, of course, was way behind. So initial was really about being a manager, right? Learn about business and management, not so much about being academic. Yeah.
Interesting. Something that is not on your CV that people might find interesting about you.
So this, okay, so that's interesting. So maybe I can just, explain a little bit about the college that I went to, right? And my career changes, right? So the college I went to is very special. It's called the Maritime College. It's a maritime university. So what I was trained was to be an engineer on a merchant ship. So basically the company, in China called China Ocean Shipping Company, COSCO. Okay, so I was trained for 4 years to work in the engine room in the big ocean going merchant ships. Now, why was that? Because maybe in my mind, early day, even when I was a child, right? China was closing to the world for 30 years, right? There was really no interaction with outside the world. And there were only 2 ways you can connect with outside. One is this, by merchant ships, right? The ocean shipping, cargo ships, you travel from China to other countries, right? Africa, Europe, so on and so forth. So I went to this maritime university to be in a career that I will travel around the world, not in the airplane, but on a merchant ship, being in engineering, in the engine room.
Did you actually get on a boat and like one of these big ships?
I did.
How long was the trip?
So I did an internship about, I would say, something like around 6 months. So I was on the ship, right, merchant ship, big bulk ship. I think I was in the engine room being an intern of engineer intern, right? So there was one, of course, there was mainly around China. So I remember from Shanghai to Dalian in the north, in the north, to Shanghai, and from Shanghai to Guangzhou. But it's along the, basically within China for about 5 to 6 months. It was, I was very young, but it's kind of very, very challenging, right? Was very exciting as well. But there was one problem. The problem was that, of course, in college, I also studied very hard, right? So turn out I began to wear my glasses, see, right? So I have near sight. But this was 30 years ago, right? So the engine room on the big ship, they were not computer controlled. They are not air conditioned. These were very, still, very hot, right? There's not air conditioning. So you cannot wear your glass, right? If you wear glass, then, you can't work in the engine room. So by the fact I studied very hard, I get myself with a glass, then I became disqualified for being able to working in the engine room for these big, merchant shipping companies, right? So that's why later on in my senior year, I was being transferred to what we call the transportation management program. So basically, before I want to be engineer, and now I want to become managing the logistics company. So that's also the reason I moved to the management area.
I met a captain who worked for Sumitomo, and that person told me that his trips would take about a year. And I asked him about how he thought about his family, like how do you maintain a family that you only see once a year for a couple of weeks, and then you don't see them for an entire year, and then the child is grown. Things have changed. That's a very difficult life.
It is. So I'm glad. I did not go. Life, has its way of. As I did not go that way, right? So, but I can tell you, at the time I was, at my time, it was very prestigious to be working on, a ship going abroad. Because, as I mentioned, China was very much closed. Being able to have interactions abroad and be able to see what's going on outside was really something people, really has, would like to have. It's very prestigious to be able to do that, right?
True. JT, if you could do it all over again, would you do exactly what you did, or would you change something?
So I don't, of course, those are something I studied when I was very young. Of course, later on I developed other interests, right? So as you said, of course, China had opened up. There were more opportunity to learn and interact with outside the world. So I would not, of course, I have not, but I do enjoy. It has something in myself. So there's good reason why I'm an IB scholar, right? Because I have some curiosity about what's outside of my home country, right? So in early age, I want to go outside. The only way at that time was working on, merchant ship, right? Going abroad. So now, of course, I enjoy learning about a different culture, traveling, global conferences, so on and so forth. But of course, it's not a career, because it actually has, it's very difficult, right? You would be long time away from your family, so on and so forth.
JT, what did you learn from your biggest mistake or failure?
So I guess I tried, so I would say I tried a lot of things, right? So I think the life is about experiences, right? So I like diversity in a sense. So if you look at me, am I a typical academic? The answer is most likely, yes, it is. I am. But then, so I was. I was, of course, one time I was full-time management consultant, right? So I was academic. I was working in the US, in the university. And then, of course, then I came back to Hong Kong working for management consulting for a few years, right? So that was, the thing, of course, after come back to academia, I also spent quite a lot of time being department head, associate dean, senior associate dean, right, for quite some years, all right, for 10 years. So I've been doing academic research. I've been in administration. I've been in management consulting. So if you ask me, would I be more productive in terms of my research papers? Not doing administration for 10 years? My answer is yes, right? But I think all these are the experiences I feel. I set up a goal. I tried to do something different, and I gave it a try. I feel that I fulfill something. So life is about the experiences. That's so every experience I had, I should learn quite a lot.
Perfect. Now, let's talk about research. Nothing particular about one paper, but in general about your body of work. When you see laymen on the street, when they are curious about you, like you're stranded in a pub in a small village, How do you explain your research to people who don't read scholarly work, and why your research is important?
Yeah, so that is a very good question, right? So it depends on where this a small village, where is this pop is, right? So now I imagine this small village is in an emerging market, right? So because that's the work that I do for last 10 years, right? So I work on research on emerging markets. So I imagine, for example, this could be a small village in China or in Brazil or somewhere. And people ask me what I do. So of course, I would say, of course, I work with companies, I work with managers, help businesses, right? So I'm a strategy person, right? So I do help companies how to, how do they become successful, right? In terms of new products, new markets, new strategy, and I look at the international, right? So last 10 years I've been doing research. Look at the emerging market, the multinational companies, so firms from emerging markets. I look at their cross-border mergers acquisitions, right? So that's one area of what I do. Chinese companies going abroad. I look at innovations in emerging market, what I call the reverse innovations, right? So this is very interesting. So of course, I remember in my early days in the US, in my doctoral program, we learned from Professor Werner, right, about this idea of international product life cycle, right? The major innovations were developed in developed economies like US, Europe, Japan, right? Why? Because developed economies have the institutional infrastructure, has the managerial technical talents, have the financial capital, which allow these major radical innovations to happen. And once the innovations are developed in advanced economies, right, then we have American multinational companies, European multinational companies, Japanese multinational companies bring this innovation, right, to developing countries, to emerging markets. So that's what we understand as the main process for international, innovations, right? What we call the theory of international product life cycle. So last 10 years, 20 years, what we see is there's a lot of innovations coming from emerging markets, right? That's what I call the reverse innovations, right? So just look at TikTok, right? TikTok in the US, now you have over 100 million, right? Young people, right, using TikTok in the US, right? It's innovation, right? Innovation comes from emerging market, come from China. So a colleague, Kenny Swan from National University of Singapore and I, we look at this reverse innovation idea, and we look at how China developed its innovation. So patents, inventions developed in China for Chinese market, but it turned out being, has its value being adopted by companies in the US. And we did this about patents, right? And we published this paper in JIBS. So the idea of knowledge flows are two-way street. So last 5 years, we have this US-China economic tensions, trade tensions, technology competition. One key assumption, I think, from Trump was administration was that technology was very much one-way street. The technology moving from US to China. So China has been developed very fast over 30, 40 years. Wonderful, but with the US technology, probably did not fairly compensating for the technology from the US, knowledge from the US, right? So our study, we look at innovations, knowledge creation from China and being adopted by US companies. And so it suggests that, last 10 years, there's another direction for knowledge transfer. So knowledge can flow not only from West to China to emerging market, but knowledge can also flow, the technical knowledge from emerging market to the West, to the US, to the advanced economies. So I thought that is quite interesting, right? So it's not only it actually helped with some of the policy discussions that we have So I feel that, as a scholar, I feel, the research we are doing can really have the social impact that we would like to, we have been talking about.
If a PhD student comes to you and asks, what's the next 5 to 10 years of the field going to look like? Some big questions for the IB field, some of the forgotten variables, forgotten contexts in IB. What's the next step?
So very good. So I can, of course, I can, so I've been, I've been involved with several projects recently, which I'm either the guest editor or publish papers in some of these areas. So I feel there are several, at least 3 areas, right? It's definitely will be, basically the conversation, right? Determine the conversation for IB research in the next 5 years, 10 years, right? So one area is the digital economy, digital technology, right? Digital transformation, right? So, the last 5 years, we definitely see more work in this area, right? Certainly, a traditional for our IB field, right? We're talking about multinationality. We're talking about basically, how much assets we have abroad, how many employees we have abroad, how many subsidiaries we have abroad, what's our percentage of foreign sales, right? So our theory in IB, right, we call them a foreign direct investment theory, right? FDI theory, right? Where the location for investment, ownership advantages, and so forth. So we have been doing that for last 30, 40, 50 years, right? But in future, with digital innovation, the digitalization, digital transformation, I think the way we look at globalization, the way we look at, internalization will be very different, right? So what is a global business? What is a multinational company? That will be what is the theory for international business? Those probably also need to change, right? For example, so for many years, we've been talking about firm-specific advantages, right? We talk about a company, how a company develop, strategy advantages, right? But so 2019, I have a paper which is what I call how we can develop ecosystem specific advantages, or ESA, right? We're not talking about FSA, firm specific advantages. Now, next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, we will talk about the digital platforms. We will talk about the ecosystems, and we will talk about the ecosystem specific advantages, the idea of ESA, right? So this was actually just a prospect paper in JIPS, right? But we need to have more empirical research. So I work with Klaus and a few colleagues. So we have a special issue in JIPS on IB and digital economy, which will come out this year. And we also doing more empirical research myself, looking at platforms, international competition in platforms. So I think that so one big area is fundamentally this digital technology industry 4.0. We talk about AI, machine learning, 3D printing. So all these technology advancement, how that affects businesses, affects supply chains, value chains, apply this the way we do global business and the way we develop global international business theories. So this is the technology. This is one big area.
Interesting.
I can give you another area which I'm, of course, is what we call the geopolitical challenges, right? Because so I say this because I'm doing more work now. So I'm based in Hong Kong. So last almost 25 years, 30 years. So now for many years. Right, I'm one of the beneficiaries of globalization. I went to US to study my education there. I also taught in the US, right? I was a professor there as well. So for many years, we have taken globalization for granted, right? So being IB scholar, being international economist, we see, of course, the benefits of globalization. The one world market, global strategy, right? So we all excited. This is really the golden era, right? So then, of course, the last 10 years, right, probably more than that, right? We see this, deglobalization, anti-globalization, fragmentation, right? Disintegration, and of course, the last 5 years, more so with the, U.S.-China, frictions and tensions, so on and so forth. So I was actually in a very, difficult, position to see the tensions. That worries me. Right. So in that sense, I feel as RB scholars, I think we should begin to face the challenge of what maybe in the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. It will be a challenging period. It's not going to be, what we had, 20 years, 10 years earlier, where everybody was saying, we want to have one globalized world, right? And RB is definitely something we do. But now, for the next 5 years, 10 years, people will begin to challenge the whole landscape that we do international business, right? The geopolitical challenge, what that mean for companies, multinational companies, what that mean for American companies, what that mean for Chinese companies who want to do international business, right? So what that mean for our theories, right? Our research. So clearly, for example, I do some work last few years on the Belt and the Road effect initiative, right? One Belt, One Road, and I published a perspective paper which look at foreign direct investment along the Belt and the Road, looking from a more political economy perspective. So I feel it's interesting to bring in. So the last few years, I learned more about political science, international relations. So I feel, so there's so much knowledge that I did not know before, which now is so relevant. As RB scholar, I think, for next 5 years or 10 years, I think the tensions, right? The deglobalization, fragmentation, these will be with us for some time to come. Okay, and that would be one of the key challenges for us as RB scholars, as RB community, and definitely as RB educators, of course, also challenges for companies. Right? Yeah.
Thank you. This was very well done. This was very insightful. Thank you. Now, for the sake of time, I want to ask you questions about mentoring and advice to young scholars, young PhD students, and junior faculty. Can you name a couple of the big mistakes that people at the early stages of their career make, and what would you say don't do? This is not a good thing to do early on in a career.
Yeah. So thank you. So I would say I'm fortunate to have been, to have the opportunity to work with, quite a lot of young people, right? My doctoral students, junior faculty members over the years. Some of them are very successful now. My former students from Hong Kong now are full professor at university in the US, Canada, Australia, so on and so forth. So and of course also leading university in Hong Kong and China. So actually, I feel the young people are really keeping me what keep me going, right, in my research programs, right? So that's actually I get some of the new ideas. A lot of new ideas I have are from my students, from my co-authors. So I truly enjoy working with them. So that's also I tend to have a lot of students, right? So who want to work with me. So I feel that makes me very proud. Now, what are the common mistakes young people, right, students made? I think that linked to more with our institution, the institution system that we have, unfortunately, right? So in the way that one thing, of course, is the pressure to publish, right? So the pressure to publish in good journals early on as fast as you can. So in our, so I sense in our doctoral programs, right? The student, I was in the PhD program. My professors did not really tell me that you have to publish, right? Even though I did publish early on in my doctoral program, but there was not this institutional kind of pressure, everybody telling you that you have to publish as soon as possible. Rather, the advice I had early on in my program was that, just doing good work, right? Doing high quality work, doing something that excited you, something that you are passionate about, right? Take your time, read the literature, you learn about, things from different disciplines, and go deep, right? And really that's what scholarship, what research is about. I guess the last 5 years, one of the things is I feel maybe in here as well, in the emerging market as well, is that there's this lack of patents, right? For research, people say, I can't wait. All right, I can't wait, for 1 year or 2 years to really study a topic. I only have a few months. I have to generate a paper in a few months. So I feel that is something definitely a mistake. Okay, people, students, they need to take their time, cool down a little bit, really go deep, dig in to research, learn about the theories, literature, phenomena, method, data, and really spend the time doing really good work rather than focus on too much of the outcome, right? Can I have 1 article? Can I publish 2 articles? Can I publish 3 articles? So I think that fundamental mindset to me was actually the big, it's dangerous in a way. Once people have that mindset that they are just after the number of publications, right, as soon as possible, then of course there's no efforts made to really understand, what's the fundamental issues, right? Fundamental research questions, the research literature, so on and so forth. Yeah. So I think so basically what I feel is that the really for the whole program is really trying to lay the foundation, right? That if you have solid foundation, then you have all the things to do in your future, right? But if you do not put efforts in lay a real foundation, but spend time just try to get quick publications, I think that will be do more harm to the career.
Sure. This was very good. JT, last question for the sake of time. What's the question that I should have asked you but haven't?
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I think you asked a lot of excellent questions. I think, there's one question that maybe it's not whether you will ask, it's more like there's one question that we as RB community, right? So probably need to think a little bit more going forward. Let me explain a little bit. So I, so just, yesterday, I was in 2 committees. First, I have a committee meeting to look at, tenure application, right? So in my department, so I'm chair of the tenure and promotion committee in my department, which is a managing department. So we look at 2 candidates applying for tenure and promotion, right? So that's the one meeting, right? Then right after that, I have another meeting, which is at the school level. So I'm a member of the school level, tenure promotion committee, right, at the business school, right? So we will talk about, candidates for promotion in another, department, for example, in economics, right? So there's all these issues about which journal is the top journal, right? What's the requirement for tenure promotion? And then that leading to the question is the JIBS, Journal for International Business Studies, is the A level journal, the same level journal as what we see with SMJ, Academic Management Journal, Journal of Consumer Research, Journal of Finance, right? Accounting Review. So this actually has been bothering me for quite a long time. So because let me explain. Because we at HKUST, so we are a research school, right? So we have a list of journals, what the school, the university believe as a top tier, right? The A journals, that is the list. So I have to be honest with you that JIPS, unfortunately, is not on that list. Okay, so for quite some years, I have been making the efforts. I have tried to tell, in fact, for some years I was, associate dean for faculty. I was chair of the school promotion committee. I was a senior associate dean. So even with that, I found it very difficult to convince my colleagues in other departments in finance, right? In other departments that JIPS is the same level with general finance. JIPS is the same level with ASQ or AMJ or SMJ, right? So in a way, I think this is the issue that we as ARB or IB community have to work together to move the status of our top journal, which is JIPS, to be really a premier journal that's recognized by tenure promotion committees in the leading universities. I think this, of course, there are universities. Of course, there are a lot of schools, right, recognize JIPS as top journal. But I think that for us, I think this has been a real situation bothering me for quite some years. You notice that I published in JIPS when I was in my doctoral programs, very successful early on. But then I stopped publishing JIPS for quite some years. One reason was that when I joined, a university, they told me that they do not consider JIPS as a top tier journal, right? So then I began to publish in AMJ, SMJ, Organizing Science, right? So I published a lot in these journals, right? Then of course I have my promotion tenure. I was a chair professor. I'm endowed chair. So now, of course, this is no longer a concern to me. So I published more in Journal of International Business Studies. So this because I don't worry about this anymore, right? But this does raise an issue for our young scholars, right? In our field. Particularly if you work in some of the more research intensive schools, then my advice, of course, is that you want to do both, right? You want to publish in AMJ, SMJ, ASQ, but also at the same time you publish in JIPS, right? But then how do we move JIPS to this get the same level of recognition as AMJ or SMJ? I think that is something that going forward, I think this is a big challenge for all of us.
Perfect. Thank you so much, JT. Actually, in some of the schools, if you have an AMR, AMJ, SMJ, then JIPS is an A. If you only have two JIPS and one something less of an IB journal, then it is not an A. Most schools treat it as what are the other papers in the portfolio, are they also right. That is what they're doing. But great point. Thank you so much. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot. I'm sure the audience will agree with me. Thank you for your time, JT.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed the conversation. Okay. Bye-bye. Yeah.